Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 110 of the Hardly Millennial podcast, where we are young, dumb, and full of
opinions.
Opinions, ladies and gentlemen. It is not just Thomas and I today. We have a guest with us. Her name is Taylor Stevens. Say hello, Taylor.
Hi, everyone.
And Taylor is a part, like Thomas, is a part of the Cirque Du Soleil family, and so kindly agreed to come do a podcast with us today. So thank you for coming, Taylor.
Thank you for having me.
How have you been handling this whole quarantine business?
I've been trying to keep it together and stay strong and stay positive, but it's been tough.
Oh, haven't we all? Haven't we all? We were just talking before we started here, and you were mentioning, or both of you were mentioning, that Cirque is actually supposed to be coming back soon, or possibly coming back soon.
That's
right?
the rumor. So what we're hearing is with Vegas supposedly opening up at the beginning of May, that we're supposed to be, hopefully going back to shows sometime between June, July. Everything is just speculation right now, though. They don't actually know anything for certain. I'm sure Taylor's been getting the same emails I have. It's just updates saying we still don't really know anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. I mean, it is kind of a sigh of relief, here, like seeing the emails about the Vegas shows will be one of the first to reopen, but It's just a matter of when, because everything is still so uncertain right now.
That's true. That's something we've heard, that out of all like the touring shows and everything, that the Vegas shows will be the first ones to open back up and finally start selling tickets again. But right now, Cirque just doesn't have any revenue stream coming in.
Well, shit.
I know. It's bleak times. Bleak times.
Hopefully
people.
It'll be much sooner than later.
Yeah, that we're all hoping. Fingers crossed. Whoever would have thought that we'd get to this point here?
That this is our year.
Yeah, 2020. Oh my gosh. Happy 2020.
Well, and then there's even talks about I don't know how true this is, but there's been like talks on and off about this going on until like 2021, or it coming back in the fall for another 6 months or something like that.
Could you imagine?
And it's just like, at the same time, it's like, because you have people in Nevada protesting right now, and they're getting pissed off because the Las Vegas mayor or the Nevada's governor, who I don't know the name of either of those people, maybe I should learn that. But they're pissing the people off because they're not giving any answers right now as to like when anything's supposed to start opening. So I don't even think they're the ones who are making the decision to, hey, let's start opening these places on the Las Vegas Boulevard. I think the casinos and the hotels and the businesses are making executive decisions themselves and being like, you know what? We're just going to open this day so people can start coming, try to stop us.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the hell's going on.
At that point, they would start issuing martial law.
That's what worries me about all of this stuff. Like if you give put governments aside, you give anybody let's use a Walmart manager, for example. If you fucking give anybody power, like try to take that power away from them. So now you have this situation where the government's been able to tell people, force people even to, not go outside, or force people to wear face masks outside and such. And, it's like that's an interesting situation we haven't been in before, where the government's just like, you can't do any of this stuff. And so it's like, well, the protesters suck, but at the same time, we kind of need them just to kind of remind that, like, hey, we can't fucking do this forever. At some point, something's got to give.
Yeah, because I think from my understanding of it, too, a lot of the protesters, I want to say, are small business owners.
Yeah.
That, because a lot of the small businesses, can't, I want to say can't collect unemployment because they're like self-employed, and I don't know, there's a whole like SBA thing. But a lot of these people are, super stressed out because they've got, this small business, they've got families of maybe 7, and they have no income. Their business is like a month away from shutting down, and that's like somebody's entire life's work gone. And then how are they supposed to provide for their family after that? Yeah. So it's, and it's kind of hard because it's like I feel like I see all perspectives. I see all sides to everything.
Right.
Yep.
But it's still trying to figure out what's the best solution, because the whole thing is just wild. it's chaotic, it's bizarre. It's so just unknown.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I read an article with of somebody who was a local article, and somebody was interviewing one of these protesters at City Hall. And the protester made a good point. They were like, let people who want to go back to work, and keep the quarantine on the people who are more at risk, people who are working with people who are more at risk. Like, those are the ones that, like, you can have them still working. But the problem is you're in this situation now where grocery store workers are able to pay their rent and pay their bills and all of those things. And you're telling these other people that they can't do that, and just as you said, not everybody's able to get unemployment. And just as Thomas has had issues with, even people who qualify for unemployment. Yeah,
no, I can't either.
Even get through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, no one can get through. My mom asked me today, she's like, well, are you still trying? I was like, I try every day. Yep. I wake up at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, you do the same? You do the exact same thing. Everyone's doing the same thing. We're all calling right when they open. And, of course, all the phone lines are busy because they don't have enough people. And then you can't send in your application online for some reason. And they keeps telling you, keep calling.
Yeah.
And it only gives you 2 ways of contacting them. And both numbers you call, every time you call, busy signal. And I call until they tell me you can't call anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't call anymore because their phone queues are full for the day. It's like 10 in the morning. It's like by like 10 or 11 in the morning, and it's like, okay, well, that's great. So I guess tomorrow I got to wake up at 7:30 again.
I'm not the only one.
Oh no.
No, but this article said it's like 12 million people right now trying to collect unemployment. Maybe not that high. Maybe that's a really high number, but I do know it was in the millions somewhere.
So this just reminded me of something I heard on the news like a week ago too, regarding unemployment for a different state. So Georgia last week opened up their state for just back to like normalcy, I guess. Like they opened up all non-essential businesses again. And
wait, what state is this?
Georgia.
Okay.
And I've heard that like on the news, it was the governor's decision, and a lot of the mayors and just even like the people of Georgia are like really not happy about it because the guy
I wouldn't be either.
Well, like the guy on the radio was like, who's going to want to go get a mani-pedi right now? Who's going to want to go get a massage right now? We have, and I guess Georgia, I don't really know the statistics, but from what I heard, I guess Georgia's not one of the best states right now as far as like corona cases go. And they were saying there's a theory, I guess, that the reason the governor just decided to open it up anyways was because for unemployment, so that people can go back to work and get off of unemployment because their state is not financially able to like provide any more unemployment, I guess.
Here's the way I see it. I'm like, either let us all go back and then let the death rate climb really high really quick, but it will also drop really quick, and then it will level out, and then it will be done. We'll just have a lot of deaths. All right, so we either go that route. I like to call it the Thanos route, or we all stay indoors and then just flatten the curve, and more people will die. People will die over a longer period of time, but less people will die. So, honestly, I'm almost for just letting us climb the Thanos peak, and then let it, because then it'll be done and over with, and I'm the asshole that's like the Earth's population's already so high, right? I mean, guys?
Don't get me wrong, I get that way of thinking, but at the same time, like if you do spread it over a period of time, you may end up actually killing less people in the long run, because then you have more of the time and everything to get like a vaccine created and such.
No, and it's true. But that's the route we're going. But I'm saying if we're gonna do that, let's all just stay inside. Right. We can't have like the Georgia governors going, well, I'm gonna go outside then because it defeats it. I'm like, let's go one route or the other. So by him doing that, it just defeats us all staying indoors.
Well, I don't think there's an issue. Like, I think the way to do things right now is to just gradually let everything open again. I think that is honestly the best decision to make right now. But the problem is everybody's fighting over just what you said. There's this fight of like, okay, well, it either has to be this or this. And it's like,
because I know there's also like implementations happening with some states are better off than other states. And so they, if your state is better off, there's a 3-step process to reopening your state again for all non-essential businesses and stuff, and just to kind of go back to a normal life, which is fine.
But we have to start that process. Though,
right.
You know?
But I mean, I guess like, you know,
just
in
like,
the case of Georgia, he went through those like 3-step processes way too fast. Like they weren't doing it properly.
And that's the problem. It's there has to be middle ground here. And I don't know why we're always so obsessed with black or white. It's there's always gray. There is always a gray area. We just always refuse to follow it.
Yeah.
Well,
I think if you just like I said, you gradually get people like, okay, we're doing this now. Okay, we're going to open the movie theaters now, but only for this amount of time. And now we're going to bring these people back for only this amount of time.
Yeah.
When everyone
And then
keeps
you just
bringing
build
up
from
how
there.
like China like could have closed their borders sooner, then it would have like stopped the spread by this much. And I'm like, and as I told you the other day, I said hindsight's 2020.
I know. I'm getting so tired of like it reminds me of that.
It is what it is.
Have you guys ever seen that South Park episode with the superhero that's like
Captain Hindsight.
Captain Hindsight? And he always just comes to after the crime's
disaster,
been committed and been like, well, if we had more guards over here, then these people could have helped us over here. And then he flies away, and everybody's like, "Thank you, Captain Hindsight."
They're like
that's
our
what this
job here
reminds
is
me
done.
of. So that's what kills me. There was a somebody, I think it was Bill Maher, had like Dan Crenshaw. He's a senator, but I can't remember what he's the senator of. But he's the guy with the eye patch in Congress.
Oh yeah.
And
he's
they
been
were
everywhere lately.
Yeah, well, and they were asking him questions and everything about this, and Dan Crenshaw made a good point where he was just like, look, nobody knew what the hell to do when this.
Yeah,
happened.
everyone keeps talking like, well, we
like,
should have
nobody
done this.
knew.
It's like, yeah, no one knew. This has never happened before.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then a part of me also is going like, how much of it is, propaganda? How much of it is trying to instill fear for whatever reason? I don't know. But because like I told you the other day, I'm not hearing from friends and stuff. I don't hear from anyone that I know saying, hey, I had this family member get sick and like die from coronavirus. Like they keep saying like all these millions of people are dying. I know a lot of people, and I know nobody that knows anyone or related to anyone who has gone sick and died from this. Mm-hmm. Nobody. I hear of people like getting sick and then getting over it. But right. So when I hear like this death rate and stuff, I'm like, the way that the media is talking, I should be hearing from people left and right. Hey, I had this family member. I knew this friend, like someone that knew somebody. But I don't hear anything.
No, I think the media definitely makes it sound worse than it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it's still the people who have suffered and who have lost loved ones. It's still awful.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I'm
like,
not downplaying that at all.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. But I feel like it's definitely being made out to be worse than it actually is.
Yeah.
Because I agree. Like, there's.
I'm not seeing it with my own eyes. I'm not hearing it with my own ears.
Yeah.
I hear it on the news, and then I would go out into the world and.
I feel like there's more attention and focus on like the death toll versus like people who have gotten it and have been cured.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the issue I have, there's a couple of issues I have with all of this that just scream fishy for me. One, I think a big problem is we're all, this generation, whether you're a boomer or an X, a Z, or a millennial, we're all still trying to figure out technology and the internet and everything. This is the first time in history where we've had so much information just thrown at us from different directions. And I cannot tell you how many articles I have read, and everybody says, experts say this is going to last till 2022. Then the next one goes, experts say the worst is behind us. Then another one says, experts say this is going to kill us tomorrow. You're all dead anyway. Don't worry about it.
So is an expert, but who said it? There's no experts in this.
Yeah.
There are no experts.
Right.
And everybody can argue till their heart's content of like, well, this guy knows and this guy knows. Yeah, well, according to all these articles, all the experts are disagreeing with each other. So, I mean, somebody has to be wrong here. Somebody has to be right.
Well, and that's the scariest part is the uncertainty factor, and like that's people fear the unknown. And when you have something like this that's just global and completely unknown and uncertain for everybody involved, like it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you have experts everywhere that claim different things. And it's like, and that's the same. I mean, I keep hearing, and like based on either articles or listening on the news, I hear so many different things on the same topic. And I'm like, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the issue I have. So it kills me anytime I go onto Facebook and I see this long thread of comments from people like arguing with each other, and they're all like posting this article and this article and this article and this article. And I go, guys, if you guys just take a step back and look at your conversation thus far, I mean, that should answer the question, like just definitively, that nobody fucking knows. So stop trying to argue like you do. And what kills me is the people that are arguing with each other. It's all an argument of like, my sources are better than your sources.
Oh, yeah.
Because none of these people arguing are in the medical field. It's not like you're having a doctor argue with a doctor. You're having, this real estate agent argue with a fast food worker, about who's better at researching than the other person. Yeah. So it's like, it's just, what are you arguing against anymore? And that's the thing with this corona. Like I said, why it's throwing everybody for a loop, because you have that happening so much. And when so much shit hits the fan like that, it's always better to take out your umbrella rather than risk shit hitting you. Yeah. So that's what everybody's doing right now. I was like, all right, you know what? Let's just play it safe. Since everybody's throwing shit at each other, let's just play it safe and just shut the world down. Let's just do that for a couple months.
Yeah, but people are getting antsy. People are wanting out.
They've got ants in their pants.
Yeah. You're seeing like Taylor said, the protests, and people are getting fed up and sick of it. What?
I was just you peeked.
You were
sorry. I just touched. For those listening, I just moved Thomas's microphone a little away from him because he peeked on my audio thing, because I have to play like 5 fucking roles.
Totally threw me off. Totally just threw my world. Oh man, where was I? Oh yeah, protest and stuff.
Yeah,
people are protesting and losing their damn minds now. Like people are just getting antsy and wanting out of the house. I know I go to the grocery store as often as possible just so I can go somewhere.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, and that's just it too. Like I said, regardless whether you think the people protesting are like dumb or not for protesting, like it's a sign that people are just like, we're fucking like, we need to do something.
I was at a point, speaking of just like being antsy, I had to order new sweatpants on Amazon because I went through all of mine and I just didn't really, I mean, I could have done laundry, but I was like, I don't need to do laundry yet.
My God,
and I like was running out of sweatpants and like Corona clothes.
Oh my word. Corona clothes. Yeah. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
I think Taylor just coined that. Corona clothes. Hashtag. Corona clothes.
I mean, I just basically live in gym shorts and a t-shirt now. And like I've and I've said before on this podcast, I just moved here to Vegas, and then like right when I moved here, it's like everything closed, because like I said, if I was still in Arizona, I'd probably still be going to visit friends and stuff like that, for friends I know don't have it or are at risk of having it, before people fucking attack me for saying that. But and then I moved here, and it's like well, got Thomas.
That reminds me, Taylor, did you get your blood tested at the door? Trevor should have tested your blood.
No, I think your security guard person, Trevor, he failed, and you should fire him because he didn't blood test me.
I think Trevor died of coronavirus.
And honestly, I've actually been trying to find out what my blood type is. So if he would have blood tested me, that would have been great, so I could find out my blood type.
Do you really not know what your blood type is?
No, I've always been so curious, and I just never... It's been something I've been trying to find out for several years now, and I called my birth hospital the other day because I was that bored. I found my birth certificate, found my birth hospital.
Like, do you guys just have this in your system?
Well, because I was like, like my medical records, I was born there. I'm surely they'll have my blood type, but no, they don't.
No, they don't take your blood as a baby.
Yeah, I just figured they might have had it. I don't know.
I only found out because once in my life I gave blood. And then the only reason I never gave blood again was because my experience was going in there and sitting down with them for like 3 hours, because they do that the first time. You have to sit down, and they ask you every fucking question that you could ever think of. Do you have any tattoos? Have you ever had a dick in your ass? Have you ever, like, anything you can fucking think of? They ask.
Did they phrase it like that too? Just like that. Have you ever had a dick in your ass? I mean, I'd like to think that they said it very intellectually. Have you ever had a dick in your ass? Good sir.
I was seriously asked all these questions, and then they took my blood, And then like at the time I was smoking cigarettes. So then I finished, and of course, after like 4 hours, all I wanted was some fucking nicotine. But I didn't know you couldn't have nicotine, like you couldn't smoke after giving blood because, you know, you're lightheaded and shit. I guess that should have been common sense, but that's not the way my mind worked back then. So I sat down and I had a cigarette, and then I literally woke up on the bench that I was having a cigarette at because I passed out.
Oh my gosh.
And just like went to sleep, and then I woke up and like missed my class. Anyways, that's all extra information about this story. But the point is, I got my blood taken, and I found my blood type is AB positive.
Nice.
Whoa. Nice. Great, bro. That was an awesome story.
Yeah,
I was
because
all about that.
I don't know. I've been dying to know, and I've called because I've had my blood taken before, not for like donations or anything, but I've had it taken before just for like certain medical procedures that I was like really sick one time and they had to like test my blood for something, I don't know. And I'd never actually knew what my blood type was. Both of my parents I found out are A negative. So there's like a 93% chance that I'm probably A something. I don't know if it cancels
be
out.
Something, you know.
I'm like trying to dig into my like high school chemistry knowledge because I do remember learning about how the blood types work and
But I'm
how
saying-
you get yours.
But yeah, I'm wondering if both of my parents are the same blood type. I feel like I'm not going to be the same as them. I feel like it would cancel out, and I might be like one of the universal.
Well, the thing is, everybody has the I'm probably totally botching this. Like I said, I'm trying to pull memory from my junior year in high school here, which was like 12 years ago for me. Fuck, 12 fucking years. Anyways,
Yeah, you're old.
fuck, no kidding. I don't. Hold on.
Wait,
Hold
no,
on.
you're the younger brother.
There you go. Hi guys.
Anyone believe that?
I'm 22. But anyways, so I think there's like a dominant and recessive thing type of deal going on. So if both your parents have this like gene for this recessive blood type, then you would be that recessive blood type.
Okay. Which
I think that's how it works. I feel like I have to look this up after this podcast, and then the next podcast be like, so remember last time I pretended I was like a blood type
You know what, guys?
expert?
I have never wondered or really even been curious about what my blood type is. And
Until
now
now.
you guys are talking about it, and I'm like, what the fuck's my blood type?
yeah, see, and like it just brings in like I remember I was
my birth
talking with a
certificate?
friend the other day, and apparently your blood type can tell a lot about you too, and like even like your like nutrition
I was gonna
and
say
your
there's
dietary,
diets
yeah,
that deal with all
yeah,
of that.
and there's a lot that can go into it. And I'm just super curious.
There's well, plus it's always interesting to see if you are one of the rare blood types. I think there's only like 2 blood
Mom
types that are
is.
super rare. She
So
is actually
there's a chance I could be actually.
Ooh.
A
Are you
positive.
special?
That's what I am, not AB. Because mom, I think, is AB negative.
Yeah,
That's
mom's something rare.
That's the rare one.
They call her all the time to donate.
That's right.
Because I think the universal ones are it's like O,
O is the one
But-
that's like works for everyone.
but there's one that's like a universal can give. I think that can receive all, but then there's one that can give to all but can't receive all.
I think that's O.
But like, isn't it like O negative, O positive?
I don't
Or
think
is
the
it
negative
just-
or positive matters, but I think O is the one where like they can give to everybody, but I think only O's can give to them.
Yeah.
But the plus to that is there's so many O's.
Oh,
So like so there's always somebody so there's always somebody to donate to them. I'm gonna really look this stuff up afterwards and then just see how much of this we just got completely and utterly fucking wrong.
And we'll
Probably.
put it in the description.
Yeah, I'd be like, just clear. We'll have like 5 fucking asterisks. Of
Yeah.
like, here's this fact that was
yeah.
wrong. And this
You need to
fact that was
put like
wrong.
not an expert and like asterisks. Yeah.
That is literally why we have the thing at the beginning, the little mantra of we're young, dumb, and full of opinions. Because if anybody ever gives a shit about it, I could always be like, please refer back to the fucking sentence we say at the beginning of every fucking podcast. We are young, we are dumb, certainly
are
dumb, and we're full of opinions.
Very full of opinions.
So it's like anytime somebody tries to sue us, because that happens all the time, then we just say fuck
Constantly, because were huge.
Okay, so I was about to start a story earlier, and we decided to wait about my dream.
Oh, a
Yes, talk
dream.
about your
Yes,
dreams.
I love talking
Okay,
about dreams.
so-
It's great.
because it's like just like eating away at me. It's like
Yes.
stuck in my head. Okay, so you know when you have a dream and like you see people in your dreams and it's never somebody you don't know or you haven't seen before, whether it's a stranger you saw for like 2 seconds at a grocery store or like somebody like an extra you've seen in a movie, like you've seen their
you
face.
can't create faces.
Exactly. Yeah. So there in my dream last night, there was somebody and I swear he's the love of my life. Like I think I might have found the one, but I don't know where I've seen his face before. And it's
You know what's
eating
funny?
away at me.
I had a dream like that once.
Yeah.
Only one. And it had been a couple years ago now, but it was so weird. Like it's going to sound super weird me tell you this, but like I was wherever I was, it was surrounded by like plants. Like, so there's like vines, like the whole everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like this giant, just like round pool of water. And I was just swimming in this pool of water with this girl. Like same thing, like, you know, didn't recognize her, but I know how dreams work. So I know had to have seen her someplace. And same thing. I woke up like, oh my God, I'm in love with that woman. I don't know who the fuck she is. I don't know if this is like a premonition of like who I'm going to meet later, but that was her. There she was.
Well, it's like I woke up and I was like, there was something so familiar about this person. And I'm like, I know this person. I feel like it's not somebody that I just saw randomly. Like I feel like I know them, but like because I woke up and it's a dream, it's starting to become fuzzy in my head. But
Right.
I'm like, there's still something so familiar about the features that I remember.
Dreams are weird.
Yeah.
Dreams are fucking weird.
And I woke up just like, where is he?
So speaking of dreams, there's been something, and you guys will have to tell me if this has happened to you. So I don't know if you guys have seen this TikTok trend that's gone on where people are like, has anybody noticed that since quarantine, all of their dreams have been super vivid? Have you guys had anything like that?
I've
your dreams
had-
been super vivid.
Yeah.
You
No,
have?
I've had
Really?
super vivid dreams.
Yeah, I've been having some weird ones lately.
See,
Yeah.
I haven't had any of the like super vivid dreams, but one thing that's happened to me weirdly is random people from my past who I haven't thought about in years, neither good or bad, just people that I knew, have like popped up like more and more and more in my dreams. Just randomly. Remember I told you about the one yesterday where I just like punched an old friend of mine from wrestling. That's all the dream was. He had no issues with them, but he just popped up in the dream and him and I got into a fight. I had another one where it was just, I didn't even have any action with the person. It was just, they were there. But these were dreams that I woke up afterwards and was like, I hadn't thought about that person in like over a decade, you know, and now all of a sudden that's just happened to me so many times since being in quarantine.
I've
or since moving to
also-
Vegas, I guess.
I've also been having like super vivid dreams, but then also I think it's lucid dreams where you kind of like feel.
Where you know you're dreaming? Because that's what lucid dreaming
Okay,
is.
wait, maybe not.
So just super
I don't know.
vivid, super detailed.
Yeah, like I don't know. I wake up like because I've had several like really heart-wrenching dreams, but I like woke up like actually still feeling those emotions that I felt in my dream. Like I was like super like
intense dreams, like emotionally.
I guess yeah. Like I was like I
dreams.
woke up like crying because I was like going through something like super crazy in one of my dreams. It was like super massive heartbreak. And I like woke up like crying and just like super like upset and like, oh my God. Like, but everything was so like still vivid. Like I remember every detail of that dream, like even now.
Those dreams are always the dreams that enact an emotion like that while you're sleeping. Are always just wild to me. Have either of you ever had a dream that evoked an emotion like that, and you remembered the dream, but you can't understand why the dream evoked that emotion? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I had a dream once.
Not that I can remember. I mean,
No. I had a weird dream once where it's funny. These vivid dreams, I'm always in a place surrounded by plants, like vines on the walls that like go like infinitely up, but there's still like a sky, right? And this was like over a year ago, so it's a little fuzzy, but I do remember in the dream I was with two people. It was an older woman and another woman that was like older than me but younger than the other one, right? So, and as we're walking through this weird jungle vine filled deserted temple thing. We
What?
like I don't know how else to describe it. It's like, but I just remember everything just covered in green, vines, plants, what have you.
So a temple covered in
Like it reminds me of like ruin, like old pictures of like ruins where like plants have like
I'm
grown
picturing
over
Temple
them.
Run right
I was
now.
just about to say that too. That's all I
Temple
could
Run,
picture.
it was like this little game app where it's just a guy who like ran forward and you had to jump or slide or move to avoid stuff. Temple Run.
But okay, maybe it was Temple Run.
That's
then.
just what I'm picturing.
But
right
but
now.
like it was like ruins that are covered in greenery, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, we came across this point where there was like an opening, and in this opening, you walked in, and it was a deserted house, like a deserted suburban house, you know. And it didn't look like it had been ransacked or anything. It just looked like the lights were off, like nobody had lived in there for a while. And I went in there with the two women, and mind you, I'm not saying anything. We're not saying anything to each other with these two women or whatnot.
So you're in a room with two women.
I'm in a house.
In a house with two women.
That I entered in through this
temple.
the temple thing.
Okay,
the
so you
ruins.
entered in through a temple, which became a house, which you are now in with two women.
Yes.
Sounds like an
Wait, do we
interesting
know these
porno.
two
Go
women?
on.
What?
Do we know these two women?
No,
or are
I
they just
don't- I
like
don't know
random
them at all.
women?
But I do know that one is just like super old.
Are they
like-
aliens?
Like no, they're not aliens.
Okay. I
Well,
just
hold
wanted
on,
to
hold
know.
on. So like I said, one of them was the super old woman, and then one of them was like a middle-aged woman, and we went into there, and it looked like there was a birthday party happening. Like somebody just deserted a birthday party real quick from the suburban home.
Are you now in a backyard or are you still in the house?
I'm in the house.
Okay, you're still in the house.
Yeah. So I'm in there, and then I go to leave, and I leave, and I'm with the old woman, but the middle-aged woman is no longer with me. And I look back into the suburban home, and I don't see her behind me. And all that was going through my head at the time was I just knew that woman was not going to be following us anymore, and that she was staying there. And for whatever reason, that made me super upset. And I literally woke up at that point, and I just had tears just falling down my face.
Interesting.
And and like I said, it was one of those weird dreams where it evoked emotion like that to me, and I have zero clue why
Interesting.
that dream happened. I don't know why it made me feel that way. It was like my brain was like, we're gonna give you a fucking metaphor tonight, bro.
Speaking of that weird stuff, Taylor, have you checked out at all the Midnight Gospel? Ooh. It's by the same people who made Adventure Time. It just came out on Netflix.
No, actually, Bryson was just telling me about that,
It is
and I have
straight-
not
so
seen
let
it
me-
yet.
Let me explain
trip.
what this is for a sec. For those who may not know, and for Taylor who probably doesn't know, it is basically just a podcast. What's the creator's name?
Duncan Trussell.
Duncan Trussell, and it's just him doing.
I don't know if he's the
podcasts with-
creator, but he's the podcaster for sure.
Yeah, well, he's the creator of the show. I know that he wrote it. That's his thing.
Oh, okay.
He knows, but
I knew that much. I just couldn't remember his name. Anyway, the creator of the show, he's also one of the creators of Adventure Time. But he made this show, and it's basically he does podcasts with people, and they're talking about like things like spirituality, psychedelic stuff, much along that line. They do talk about religion and that whole story. Anyway, he does these podcasts, and then he does a cartoon revolving around the podcast. But the cartoon is very graphic. It's just there to look at while you listen. Mm-hmm. It's really about the words. It's about what they're saying. Mm-hmm. At one point I just closed my eyes and I just listened to them because it's just a podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's just they animated a cartoon around it.
That's pretty cool.
But oh my gosh, the conversations they have on there just. I would check it out. I would
the last
smoke
episode
some weed.
will fuck you up.
I would smoke some weed and then I would check it out.
Yeah. It's why I honestly don't understand why more people are not talking about that show.
I feel like
I thought that was a show that was going to like blow up the second it came out. Or something.
Because a lot of people can't get past the visual. You have to because it's all about what they're talking about, and then a lot of people just can't because the visuals are graphic and stuff, and you have to understand like really what they're meaning with their visuals and stuff, and a lot of people can't get past that. That's why like I could definitely see someone who doesn't who doesn't even know what Duncan Trussell is, who he is, or what he usually talks about, or listen to his podcasts, would know what the criteria really is, or what he's trying to get across. But man, if you can get past like just the visuals and stuff, and like the animation around it, and just listen to what they're saying, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to check it out.
Yeah.
There's I really enjoy like Greek mythology. And there is a new series that's coming out called Chaos, I think, on Netflix. And like they just
I feel like I've heard of
they
that.
just talked about it, and it's like Greek and Roman mythology,
Interesting.
I guess. But I mean, it's so new apparently. Like there's
Is it like
not
a
even
show,
any
or
trailers.
is it like a docu-series?
It's supposed to be a TV show, like a series, but not like documentary though.
Oh, okay.
At least I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I tried to find trailers and stuff, and like I can't even find that yet. It's just Chaos 2020. I mean,
Wait, it's coming out this year.
There's a
and they
Or
don't
maybe
have
it's-
it yet. Interesting.
Chaos. I don't know. They spell it like KAOS.
Oh.
I don't know.
I feel like that's
I feel like it's a
god,
play
isn't
on
it?
something. I feel like you'd still pronounce it chaos.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a play on a god.
I was gonna say, wasn't there a god or a Greek?
I feel like that's how you spell the god's name, chaos.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because in Greek, wouldn't it be like chaos?
That's what I
might
thought,
have
yeah.
been. I had to write a paper once for an English class. I had to read this entire book about Greek mythology, and I like have not retained any of it.
Oh yeah, think about
remember?
all that stuff you used to study in like high school and junior high, all that history and Greek mythology and stuff. How much do you think about it now?
Oh, what's so funny about that one is like this was literally a summer for me, because for this English class they had a summer assignment. That was one of the things to get into it. So there was this giant book called Mythology by Edith Hamilton, and you had to read all of it in the summer, and then you had to write, I think it was like a 30-page paper about it, and they gave you criteria, a rubric of how it was supposed to be followed and shit. And I just like, it's just so funny. Like I read that entire book. I wrote a fucking 30-page paper. I remember I was the first one to go and turn it into her.
Nice.
And then like, I just don't remember anything from it. I remember the names of gods, but like, I don't remember any of the stories. The only thing I remember about the Odyssey is that there was a Cyclops in there at one point. Like for whatever reason, I just didn't retain any of that.
Some of that's flooding back now.
Mm-hmm.
Just since you said that, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody usually read the Odyssey.
The Odyssey. Yeah, I remember
But
reading the Odyssey.
I remember in AP English though, we had like a whole like thing about it.
Yeah.
And they made you do that stupid summer paper. But
Bro, I was such a cheater near the end of like high school. I think back like to like just because I'd started, that's when I started to realize too a lot of the stuff I was learning I would never need again. And I was like, what is the point? Like I just need to pass the damn class so I can graduate, and then I'll never think about this again. So it was like for AP government, I remember it was before school even started, we had a summer assignment. You had to like read this book. I did it the last like night before school. Handed it in, got a B.
Yeah.
But all the time in that class specifically, just because I was like, whether I know this history stuff or not, doesn't matter. I just
Right.
need to pass this damn class. And I
Remember-
needed an AP class to get my scholastic diploma. And due to a technicality, I didn't even get that in the end, so it didn't even matter. So, but like I just remember cheating all the time on this stupid crap, because you take in all this information, they drill it in your head, and they make you think it's the most important thing in the world, and you stress over tests constantly, and then I never think about it ever again in my life. It's
Yeah.
like, why even try at that point? That's where I got to in high school. It was like when it came to stuff like that, I was like, this isn't gonna benefit me later on unless I want to be like a history major.
So you just sparked something though that I did with one of my friends the other day. From my friend from back in my hometown, we were just having phone calls, because I mean I call people all the time now and have like hour-long conversations with people.
You're such an extrovert.
But we got really bored, and we started playing like over the phone, like the Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And I'm telling you, a lot of those basic facts that you learn that you think you would never forget were like over my head. Like some of it, I was like, oh my God, why can't I remember this?
You
And it's
never
some of the
think about
littlest
it either.
things.
there were always random things I remember during school too that they would teach you, that like if you think that you're not going to use a certain equation from math ever in your life, wait until I tell you what I had to do like half of my semester in 5th grade for I don't know why this was a thing. Maybe you had to do this too. I can't remember.
What?
But in 5th grade, we spent half of the semester, and I kid you not, learning how to fly an airplane.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember doing that?
We did that, and you had to learn all the parts of it.
All the parts. You had to learn how to fly it.
I almost think it was like their way. It was like supposed to be like a fun thing for us. And it was just work.
It was just stressful.
I never had to do that.
Yeah,
Really?
there was even this school that you went to, and I remember this being so strange because it was like a school in like a not so well off neighborhood, and they had this random building set up in the back, like it was on school property. It was part of a classroom, and they had this entire like airplane simulator, like something you sat in that moved while you looked at the controls and the speedometers and shit like that. And I do remember we spent half a semester learning to fly an airplane, and I don't remember shit.
Why did we do that?
Yeah.
I remember we even went somewhere and we had to like
That's what I'm
sit in like
talking
this
about.
little
That's
simulator
what I'm talking
thing.
about, the simulator. Yeah.
Why did we do that? I remember Aunt Karen sitting on my floor with me in my room at one point going over the different parts of the plane.
Yeah.
Why did we do that?
That's what I
I've
mean.
never
like,
thought about that until you've just brought that up.
like why like it was the same thing like until years after I was out
Taylor,
of high
you never had to
school.
learn to fly a plane.
Yeah.
No.
That's
I
what
just
was
made
gonna ask
paper
you.
airplanes.
Did you ever have to learn to do any weird shit like that in school?
Not
What
that I'm
about, like,
remembering.
growing up in South Carolina. Weird, right? Yeah, Taylor's from South Carolina, by the way. We never mentioned that. That's where her and I met.
Oh, I didn't know you were actually
Technically,
from
no.
Oh, you're not?
I
Where
was
are you
born
from?
in upstate New York,
Oh.
but I was raised in South Carolina.
I didn't know this. I used to live with her for like a year, and I did not know that.
Now you know.
Yeah, I didn't know you. I thought, like, honestly, everybody that was involved in the pirate circus down there, I just automatically assumed they're just like out of state and then just like moved there. So I just assumed everybody was from everywhere. So I don't know why I never like thought about.
But you like grew
somebody
up
actually
in
living
South
there.
Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I moved there. I moved to Myrtle Beach when I was 7.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was raised there, but
So yeah.
Yankee by blood.
So how is it like? Because you grew up then on the East Coast. So how does that differ from like being over here? Or have you not really been here long enough to really?
No,
know?
I mean, the first time I even came out west was like 2015-ish. I had a family wedding out in California. I have like some distant relatives that live in California, and like that was the first time that I visited, and I instantly fell in love with the West Coast. Like it was me and my mom. We came and we stayed for like a week just for the wedding, and then after that week was over, I mean, it was summertime. I didn't have any obligations. And I was still young, so I was like, okay, I want to stay longer. Like, is it possible to just extend it for another week? And she was like, yeah, sure. So we just stayed for another week just to like explore. And I fell in love. It's so, I don't know. There's something about the West Coast to me that's just so much nicer. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I still love my hometown, and I do miss growing up like 10 minutes away from the beach. But I definitely love the West Coast.
I agree. I'm a West Coast fan.
Yeah. And I don't miss the humidity at all. That's one thing.
Most people's thing. Everybody's like, I don't miss the humidity. I've never lived on the East Coast, but from the couple of times I went there to visit this guy, like I never liked it. If I'm being honest. Like,
well, after I moved here to Vegas, I want to say I was here for about 6 months, maybe 5 months, and I flew back home for one of my best friend's weddings. And literally the second that I stepped out of the airport, I was like, I can't breathe. The air is so thick. My skin is so sticky. I'm melting. And it was only like 70 degrees there.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get over just like I had no idea there were such strict policies on alcohol.
Oh,
that was something that I was totally oblivious to. So that was odd to me. And I also didn't realize how rural like the East Coast still is. Like from visiting in Georgia and driving through Georgia, and same thing with South Carolina. Like things are very far apart from each other still.
Still got a lot of open area.
You know, I was expecting more, just like what growing up in a small suburban town in Arizona called Mesa, and I was just kind of expecting that with more humidity,
Right.
and then it's like you have these little pockets of civilization, and then it's like nothing. and then another little pocket of civilization, but it'll all be Myrtle Beach. You know, it'll all be under the name, you know, the guise of whatever the city is.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like LA or Arizona, you'll have that same thing, but everything's compact right next to each other and not spread out.
Yeah.
You
I'll
know?
tell you this too. I freaking hated driving in South Carolina. The roads just didn't make sense to me. There was no way to like
how
easily
I felt
take a
about Los
back road
Angeles.
anywhere. That's why I love it over here. Like Nevada, you know, Nevada's not as good as Arizona about it, but they're still pretty good about like keeping a grid and everything stays pretty well. Whoever designed the street system in South Carolina, like
Are you talking about like all of South Carolina or just Myrtle Beach?
I don't know. Well, like I lived in Myrtle Beach, so that's mainly the part I saw. But you
Yeah.
know, everywhere I drove, like I drove, you know, from South Carolina to Florida at one point. I drove all the way through all the states between Arizona and South Carolina. You know, I've seen all the roads. None of them are much better.
Yeah,
I don't know
mean,
why more places can't like try and at least stay on like a grid system, something easy at least.
Yeah.
But no, they create all these loops, and you can only get certain places by a highway, and I don't know.
Well, the problem,
Very confusing.
Well,
I
the
didn't
reason
like it.
why that happens is because the newer states are the ones that adopted the grid system, because a lot of these states were founded before city planning
That's
was
true.
a thing. So especially on the East Coast, because you're talking about the original 13 colonies now, you know, so they all have shitty roads and everything. Because like one thing I didn't realize about Arizona, what I didn't realize we were so spoiled with living there, is Arizona, like for years has had the reputation of having the best kept roads in the country, but they are also the 50th state.
Yeah.
Or 49th. They're the 49th state to be founded. They're, you know, they're one of the youngest
48th.
states. Are they the 48th?
We're state 48.
Okay, so the 48th state. There you go. But
Expert.
but one of the youngest states, though. You know,
Yeah.
and I think Nevada's there also, right? So these cities that have this like grid system, it's just depending on how old they are.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, you know, living here in Vegas, I got used to the grid system. But like with the streets, specifically Myrtle Beach, I mean, I think I might be a little biased just because I grew up there. So like, I
Right.
know, I mean, it took me, when I first started learning how to drive, especially, it took me a little while to like actually figure out, like kind of giving myself like that bird's eye view of the city. Like, okay, I know where this is. And like, you have like 2 major avenues, which might be bringing back memories for you, Thomas. Like you have like Kings Highway and then
yeah.
17 bypass, but like it was confusing because they ran parallel to each other. So you have the beach like way over here, and then the boulevard, which is kind of like the strip for Vegas, you know, but the boulevard to the beach. And then one block over was 17 like highway. You have 2 highway 17s, but like 17 business was Kings Highway.
Right.
And then you had 17 bypass, which like would go all the way to like Charleston,
See,
you know, and
yeah, I
then in
remember
between perpendicular to those, it would be all the avenues. So it would start from like 8th Avenue North all the way up to like 89th or something.
Yeah.
And then you'd have basically that same number system, but like south, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
So
I feel that. It's because Los Angeles was similar.
Yeah, I remember
to
the
that.
numbers would get me all the
Yeah.
time because they'd be going up, and then all of a sudden they'd
yeah.
be going down. I'm like, what is happening right now?
And I think like
that is
growing
odd.
up, because I think like the south end, from my knowledge, is obviously every city has like their bad parts of the city, and like the beginning parts of the south end were like the not so good parts. So and I visually could like, you could like cross over and like tell like, okay, this isn't the area that I want to be in. North. But also with growing up there, like I knew all the back roads and how to get around nice and
Yeah.
easy.
Oh yeah, I'm sure once you're there for
One thing that
long enough time.
one thing that really creeped me out about the South was you guys like hide shit from everybody. And let me explain. Okay.
So I need some backstory here.
Thomas and I, when we were driving back, so there was a time where I went to South Carolina to visit Thomas to see his show, and you guys all had to evacuate because of the hurricane.
Right.
So we drove down to Georgia to stay with one of Thomas's friends, and when we were driving back, there were still a lot of closures and such on the road. So at what point we were looking at our GPS and being like, oh, there looks like a road that goes through this area here to this road that's not closed, right? So we turned down this janky ass fucking hidden in the jungle street. And we're driving down it, and the only reason why this is considered a road is because enough people have driven down it to create 2 fucking tracks where their tires were. And we're driving through this forest, and there's just trees and leaves just scraping up against the car on the side of it as we're driving through the rain and driving through the floods. And then all of a sudden, the forest opens up, and there's tall grass, and there's like an acre of land. And smack dab in the middle of this acre of land is just this random ass giant fucking house, and it's just standing there, no lights on, no lights around it, no road leading up to the front of it, just a house in the middle of this giant pocket of grass. And I remember driving past it, and I go, that's where cannibals live. I go, that's where they fucking hang out. This is literally how horror movies start. We're like, oh, let's go down this road to get away from the hurricane. Oh man, our car's stuck. Luckily there's a house down here that we can go see if we can get help at. And then before you know, you're knocking on the door and you're soup.
And you're super. See, you see cannibals. You see cannibals, and I see like wealthy people. It's like,
ooh, they got
is
money.
there really a difference? Is there really? I don't see a difference. I think if you have the money,
I believe a lot of rich
like,
people eat people.
because like
I feel
I've
like
noticed
if you have
like
the money, you're like, what do people taste like? Let's fucking find out. Then you get that taste, and you're like, well, we can't let people know about this shit.
Oh my
So let's build a
gosh.
mansion over here, tucked away, where nobody can fucking find us. But if they do, soup.
because I always saw like when you have like you go out in the bumfuck Egypt, like in the middle of nowhere, and you find like this huge like mansion or
Yeah.
like this big old house with all this land. I'm like, they've got money.
See, and I see those too, but at least when I usually see those houses, there's like a driveway, you know, there's like a road to get there,
Or like a driveway that's like a mile
something.
long.
yeah, like this, like what? Did they fly a helicopter into the fucking grass?
Yeah.
Like, how
Well,
are they
'cause
getting
that's-
to this house?
And that's something I've even thought about too. People, because I mean, when I lived in New York, my house that I had, it was like up in like the mountains of like upstate New York where we were living. So like me and my family, we had to drive maybe like 20, 30 minutes to actually get into the city or like the town that we were living in. And our neighbors were like maybe like a mile away from us. So it was just like our house. We didn't eat people.
So you say, but you have to say that, Taylor.
I was also really young, so
You
maybe.
you
admit
can't
it
tell
now.
people you eat people.
Yeah, especially not on camera with a mic hooked
That's
up.
true. Yeah.
Did I just expose myself? I'm just kidding.
My
But
bad, 'cause
but yeah, like
hit the thing.
you, so it's like country life, you know, and I don't think I could ever live like that again. And seeing houses, even in South Carolina, when you like drive down like the back roads and whatever, and you find houses that are just in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
but they're really big, nice houses, and you can tell they own a lot of land. I'm like, the commute to like regular life and like just people in cities, that's so far. I was like, I could never. I mean, there's a certain beauty and a certain peace to that, but I was like, I don't think that's for me anymore.
Yeah. But at the same time, I was just gonna say, at the same time, if you have the money though to afford one of those places, you're not doing your own shopping. There's no reason
mean,
for you to go
true.
into regular life.
I was just telling Adam last night we were watching Doctor Sleep and we were looking at like one of those big
Sequel
open...
to The Shining, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that?
But anyway, I was thinking about like, yeah, those big open spaces. I told Adam, I go, I'm a city guy. I need civilization around me. Like the only way I'm like going out there like in the middle of nowhere is if I have enough to sustain me for like years. You know,
Yeah.
otherwise I don't like being away from people. Like, you know, I'm kind of an introvert. I like staying indoors, but I like being around people. I like knowing that I have civilization around me.
If I had the money, don't get me wrong, I would like to get like, I would like to have a nice house like up in some random place as like a summer home or like a family vacation home to visit, but not to like live in. And then like real life for me would be,
Exactly.
yeah, like I don't like big,
I'd like a vacation home.
yeah.
Yeah, but I couldn't live out there just by myself all the
Right.
time.
Yeah. I would get, oh yeah, that would be so lonely.
Yeah.
Quarantine.
But I mean, some people would love that. Like some people say all the time they just love to be by themselves. It's like I think I would like it for a little bit, but then you know, I just would want to go out, even if I don't want to interact with people. I just want to be around people.
You know, that is something that this quarantine has taught me, because I grew up very a very extroverted person. And just due to, circumstance in my 20s, I think I became very much a hermit, and very introverted, which wasn't like me at all. And if there's any, but at the time, going through that, you kind of just start going like, oh, well, maybe this is just me now. People change. Maybe this is just, what I do now. But it's very different now when I'm in this situation where, not only did I move someplace, fully wanting to go out there and socialize again, but it's different now when the option has now been taken away from you.
Yeah.
So it's not just you're not going out. It's you couldn't even go out if you wanted to. And that has told me, I'm like, oh, okay, no, I'm still extroverted. I just had like a moment there for a few years, but fuck, do I just want human interaction right now,
Yeah.
I mean, we were even talking before this podcast. Thomas even mentioned, he goes, it's going to be nice having another person to talk to, for a change. And I even told him too. I was even thinking about calling a friend of mine today from back home just to break up the monotony. It's just like, but there are people who are thriving in this right now. And
Yeah.
it's just,
But it is funny, just to even think about the concept of like the second that you're told not to do something or that you can't do something,
you want to.
Yeah, it makes you want to so much more. Like, I don't know. It's so funny.
But I think there's a lot of people who are in similar situations that I am. People who might, maybe not as extreme, but like they might stay in and play video games for 8 hours a day and stuff like that, and be really into that kind of stuff. But now that they, can't go out, I think a lot of people aren't even realizing how much they went out or how much they socialized with other people before they were told they couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, because I thought I stayed in a lot, and then we had to stay, and I realized just how much like I went out for like a drink with friends, or just hung out after work, stuff like that. It's like those little things you miss.
Yeah.
So
Well, it
then
makes
you don't
you
even realize. So these are people who have been saying now, as maybe a fad, in some cases of how introverted they are. And now all they want is fucking human interaction.
Yeah.
So all the real introverts are going, finally our time,
I mean, it's definitely like this whole quarantine thing definitely is like a huge eye opener and like makes you realize the little things, and it makes you like appreciate it when you had it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, I mean, who knows, maybe once we all come out of this, we'll be better people.
Well, I was saying the same thing. I go, that's the best we can hope for, right? Is that we just become a little better, a little more conscious, a little more,
like not take things for granted.
Yeah,
like the little things. It's literally the little things
a little better
make a big difference.
Yeah.
Like,
well, what it's definitely done for me is this eye opener of like, hey, shit like this can happen, and sometimes, and regardless if it's something as, I don't want to say not serious because it is serious, but it could be worse than coronavirus, right? And the fact that coronavirus could happen, there could be something else that happens that makes this quarantine kind of bit or something similar to it stretch on for longer. So I know that the second I get out of this quarantine bit, I'm gonna fucking be going out and hanging out with people all the time because I'm like, who knows? In the fall they could do this again. It's like
get it in
I'm
while
just
you
gonna
can.
get it in while I can. Exactly.
I bet you anything, though, we start seeing more people wearing face masks. I keep saying that. That's the big thing I think is going to change
during
after
the winters.
All this is done.
yeah.
I
think
that's
more
gonna be
people
a
are going to
thing.
start wearing face masks regularly.
It's going to
That's
become a
just gonna
style.
I was just gonna say, I think it's
People
gonna
are going
become
to
a
have their own
fashion
designs.
thing.
and-
Oh, Gucci's gonna have one that just says Gucci. Gold letters.
I would not be
across
surprised
it.
if they already did. We were at In-N-Out the other day, and In-N-Out has their own
Yeah.
with In-N-Out on
They
it.
gave their employees.
Yeah, you're going to start probably seeing like designer face
Exactly,
masks
yeah.
that are
Louis
going to be like
Vuitton
$100
face
a pop
masks.
or something.
And it'll be the celebrities, like come October, Billie Eilish is gonna be out wearing a fucking diamond Gucci face mask, and it's gonna sell for $800. But I mean, that's what I seriously think is going to happen, though. But it's funny though. You had mentioned, I hope that everybody's better coming out of this, and maybe if people aren't, but the world certainly is. The whole dolphins in Venice again, and
The Earth definitely got a chance to breathe, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Earth got to take just a breath. Was like, Oh, yes.
Yeah. I remember seeing a meme about we were the virus for the earth.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And
oh,
the
that's
coronavirus is
true.
just the antibodies of the
Yeah.
earth, like just taking care of
That's
its
never
shit.
been a secret. We've always been the virus.
Yeah,
They've been
that's
saying
true.
that forever. In every movie, they always say humans are the actual virus.
Do you remember that movie, The Happening,
Yeah.
with Mark
Where
Wahlberg and the
plants
trees?
started killing everyone? Yeah. I thought about that too. I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
this is how
It's
it
like the
happens.
earth is fighting back.
But fuck, there was a picture I saw from Dubai, and somebody had taken a picture of the skyline from, they have the tallest building there, so I think it was a thing from the tallest building. They weren't all the way up because then they'd be covered by clouds, but it was just far enough to where you could see the pollution, like you were like level with the pollution in the air. So, and there was a before and after picture of like last year, and I think it was like October, and it took a picture of outside, and it was super brown and hazy. And then they took a picture from just like last week, and everything was clear as day. It was like there was never any pollution at all, you know, and those are the kind of things that people are going to start seeing now. But I mean, whether this is going to be enough to take active steps to creating a cleaner environment, probably
If
not.
anything, we've got to get just a little better. I don't think we're gonna get worse.
Yeah, okay,
we've got
that's fair.
to go at least a little the other direction.
That's fair.
I will say one other thing about this corona quarantine situation going on. I have been a better cook. It's like totally forced me to just like stay home and actually try new recipes and cook and experiment. Because I mean, I can cook, I just don't like it.
See,
Yeah, we've been eating a lot
I
better.
tried
Yeah.
to do new recipes, and the first time we went grocery shopping, and I had this like a couple recipes. One was for like an eggplant, something with eggplant, and something else was with zucchini. And like, so I tried getting the ingredients for the eggplant one, and like a few of the ingredients were just one of those things that everybody was stockpiling on, so I couldn't get that. So then I tried to go to the next recipe, and same thing. There were a couple ingredients I couldn't get because
Yeah.
that was something people stockpiled on. So I was just like, fuck it, eggs and bacon and sausage it is. Let's do this.
Yeah, like I've been like experimenting with just like little things or like baking stuff from scratch, you know,
Yeah.
and just, but like I still bothers me though because I don't like cooking. But
But good for you though. Good for you for
Yeah.
getting on that cooking game. That's
Trying.
awesome. Like the little wins during coronavirus, guys.
Yeah, it's
Those little things.
God, I just with cooking, it's like I don't dislike cooking. It's just so time consuming.
Yeah.
When I'm hungry now.
I think
Like,
I think that's my issue too. Because then like yeah, I'll be hungry, and while I'm cooking, I'll snack on stuff, and then I like won't be as hungry by the time I'm done cooking.
Right.
But then it's like I just slaved away and made this meal, so I'm gonna eat it anyway,
fucking
and then I'm over full.
welcome to quarantine, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well that brings us to an hour, so I think we're gonna go ahead and end the podcast here for today. But that was a solid podcast. Solid
Yeah.
podcast, everybody.
And thanks for coming on, Taylor. We hope you join us again sometime.
Yeah, this was
Yeah,
fun.
this is a
Thanks
lot
for
of
having
fun.
me, you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for coming on. It's like I said, I think not only do we, but I think people, the 14 consistent listeners we have to this will also appreciate not having just Thomas and I on
Yeah.
for this episode.
A
So
little switch up.
thank you so much for coming on. And thank you guys for listening today. Just remember, you can like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow us on literally every single social media platform you can think of. I'm even on Twitter. I never use it because I still don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
After all these years, I still don't get it. I try. I really do. I just don't. So I'm not even going to try. So, just everything except for Twitter.
Adam hates Twitter.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
surprised Twitter's still
Anyways,
a thing.
any final thoughts, Taylor?
No.
Guys,
final thoughts?
just be positive, stay safe. We're getting through it.
All right. There you go, guys. Wise words. All right. Goodbye.